What if I told you that with 2 new painting techniques, a painter of any skill level or experience level could add so much more dynamic feeling and emotion and tone to their painting? You'd say, no, Auntie Sarah, I can't do that because I don't have confidence in my painting. And I'd say, it's time you learn about undertoning and underpainting, and we can do that today. In today's video, I will be following a tutorial that you can get yourself over at coffeecrafters.org or from the link in the description below. I will be showing you how I follow that tutorial and what the teachings and tips create for me. Just head on over to that little link. It'll be great. All right, it's time that I get myself my hot cup of motivation. Oh, it's spicy. We're gonna roll up our sleeves and we're gonna get to work. To get started, we gotta set up our workspace. So for me, that means we're gonna roll out some craft paper, but for you that could be newspaper or whatever else you have on hand that you don't mind getting messy. And after that, we're gonna need our paints, our paint brushes, and a couple cups of water. And if you want to know why you want a couple of cups of water, I suggest to check out our shorts that are our watercolor tips. Next, I suggest that you sketch out what you want to be painting. If you're a super experienced, wonderful, confident artist and you just want to go to town and paint, more power to you. You got my stamp of approval. But if you don't feel that confident about it, no worries. You can paint this exact waterfall that I will be painting today. If you grab the tutorial, you can just trace out exactly the lines that I drew myself, and you can get something very similar to what I've painted. But what you're going to want to look for are the shadows and the features, and we're going to just trace the lines around those. So the painting that I will be making today is a memory actually from Auntie Christine and I's trip over to Colorado, where we found a little place called Boulder Falls just off the road, and it was just so pretty. It was winter, so you know the waterfall wasn't like going to town or anything, but it was a beautiful place to go. Great memory, which is why I want to paint it. You can do this with any picture that you've taken, and you just got to follow those shadows and the feature lines. And then when you have something that looks kind of like an unfinished or untouched paint by numbers, the next step is to prep your paper. I like to tape off a section of the paper so that it kind of frames the painting by the end of it. And then I'm gonna try to tape that to the workspace so that it doesn't move around so much while I'm working, which you may find that I was a little unsuccessful. But that's okay. I get better every time. I'll use better tape next time. All right, now we're gonna get on to the good bits. The first tip, undertoning. Essentially, this just means we're gonna pick a new color to paint over. When you paint, you can just go ahead and hit the iron while it's hot and just paint on that white canvas if that's the inspiration you have. That is legal and encouraged by me. However, if you're considering adding a little bit of emotion or overarching tone to your painting, undertoning can be extremely useful. In the tutorial, I list out some of the different colors and why I suggest you'd use one color over another one to get a different feeling at the end of the day. But to start, I suggest you to kind of stick with the primary colors to get going. You could absolutely pick purple if you want to pick purple. I'm sure it would be a wonderful, beautiful watercolor. But you know, the primary colors really do a lot of work on their own. So for today, I'm looking for like a warm, nostalgic feeling of like a midday stop at this waterfall. And for that, I'm gonna pick yellow as my undertone. All we're gonna do is paint the whole canvas that one color. If you're doing a smaller painting that maybe isn't gonna take up the whole canvas, like if you're painting a flower or a leaf, just fill in the flower or the leaf with the tone that you're looking for. You're gonna wanna wait completely for that layer to dry before moving on. Take a break, get yourself a cup of motivation, because this is yet again another hobby that requires patience. I have a lot of those. I don't know what that says about me. But while we wait, why don't I introduce myself to those who may not know me yet? I'm Auntie Sarah from CoffeeCraft, and it is my goal to inspire you to craft something with your own 2 hands. I love to do that through making fun videos like this, shorts, or even tutorials like what you can purchase on coffeecrafters.org. If you like what I've done so far, you want to join our crafty journey, you want some tips and tricks on more crafts, or just, little snippets of motivation, then you should join our crafty community. All you gotta do is like this video, subscribe to our channel, and you're in. All right, I think this layer is nice and dry, so we're gonna move on to the next layer. We're on to the second technique, underpainting. Underpainting is a great way to add shadows to your work before you've actually added your final layer of paint. You can use any color you want, again, that strikes your inspiration, but most of the work I've seen uses different colors of blue. In this tutorial, I show a few different colors for an undertone, but if you're interested in what different colors of underpainting would look like, leave a comment below and maybe we can make that into a fun short just to compare the same painting over and over with different colors of underpaintings. It'd be fun. All I'm doing right now are filling in the sections that have deep shadows with some blue. And for this, I recommend that you do this in a few layers rather than trying to pile all that color all in one layer. Mostly, you'll just want to be sure that everything is dried completely before you move on to the color of your watercolor, because you don't want the blue to bleed into the color on top of it. Which, this brings us to an auntie tip. This technique works really well in watercolor, but I've also seen it used in quite a few other mediums. I've seen it with oil painting, acrylic painting, markers, colored pencils, really anything that you want to use color with, you can do this technique with. So, for example, gouache is a really fun and up-and-coming paint choice, but it is reactivated by water. So if you want to do an underpainting and an undertoning in a gouache painting, I suggest you actually do your underpainting and your undertoning with watercolor or acrylic, and then you do your gouache on top of it. But if you want to try and see if it works for you or doesn't work for you, again, I'm all for it. That's what art is for. It's for the learning and the fun, all right? I think we're ready for the final watercolor layers. We got to cover up all that hard work now. So I'm going to leave this up to you to decide your techniques and how much you want to watercolor. This tutorial is more of how do you add that warmth or feeling or depth to your painting. I think this would be a perfect time for time lapse, so I'm going to get a little quiet, take a few sips of my cup of motivation, and I hope you enjoy the process of watercolor. Okay, it's time to untape our painting and see the fruits of the labor. Overall, I'm very happy with this painting. If you compare the picture that I started with and the painting I ended up with, I think it's very easy to see the similarities and the feature and the feeling that I felt when I saw the waterfall with Auntie Christine. And in general, I did want to remind everyone that, especially if you're new to an art form, I want you to give yourself a little bit of grace. If you want to capture a memory perfectly to every detail, and that's the standard that you need to have, I suggest you take a picture. But if you want to express the feelings that you had when you saw that thing for the first time, or when you thinking back on the memory, then art is an excellent way to do that. So just don't be so hard on yourself, you know? This is supposed to be fun. We're all in a different place on our crafty and creative journey, and I think that we should take pride in trying new things and learning along the way. It's all experience, and you'll learn something from it, hopefully, before you make your next masterpiece. I hope that this video inspired you to try underpainting and undertoning yourself and gives you the confidence that you can improve your painting techniques no matter where you are, with just adding a few layers. But if you want this printout that I used to make my painting, that includes a shopping list of what I used, tips and tricks, examples of when I would use one color versus another color, or even the recipe for this spicy hot cup of motivation, head on over to coffeecrafters.org or to the links in the description below and get a copy of the tutorial for yourself or a friend. Comment below if you tried these techniques or are excited to take your painting skills to the next level, because I just really want to know. Thank you again for watching today's video. I had a ton of fun, and I can't wait to see what we can craft together next time. Alrighty, bye-bye.